my first feeling that I had heard them so much before, and they were such legend, and I admired them so much. It was I had to accept the fact that there I was sharing this moment with them, and I was very impressed how kind they were, um, and it was it was a real musical experience. It was not just one more thing. The moment mattered. It was like I felt like the center of the world, of course. And well, Menuhin had been with me since the very beginning of me even knowing about the violin. So, in a sense, I only realized many years later what an exceptional thing it had been for me that I managed to meet him at some point and to collaborate with him. I mean, that I could play for him, and I worked with him on the Chausson poem and Elgar concerto. I made a recording with him. That was a big moment for me. And I played the Spohr number 8 concerto with him conducting also. That was, and then much later I'm friend with his son Jeremy, and we had a trio with Raphael Wolfisch, and we played the Schubert trio for him in his house in London just a few weeks I think, just before his death and something, and that. Well, of course, I didn't know he was going to die so soon, but that experience with the Schubert trio really stays with me because I remember all the expressions he had musically, and I still carry with me some of the things he spoke about, and so it's like there are so many layers for a personality like that, and it's amazing that we can, in a glimpse of a moment, understand how they feel about music. It was the same with Rostropovich. I really loved. I played the Cedrin concerto, concerto cantabile with him, and he loved this music, and he knew it very well, of course, because he had done the famous performances and recordings with Vengerov of that wonderful piece, actually, and. It was just I mean, it's a very inspiring moment. Yeah. And also, I had my two teachers in the conservatoire. I rarely speak about them because they were quite young, but Davy Early and Madame Auclair. They're also very, very important for me. I realize that more now than before. When you're young, you just go from one to the next teacher, and you think what you learned before is nothing. It's absolutely rubbish. Of course, I love them very much. Well, I guess Mr. Gingold had an impact on everybody that ever approached him. You felt like you were in touch with the whole century of violin playing. His memoirs of, I mean, he often said, "I just see Ysaye, I just see you now." For me, it just was yesterday that he was alive, and he's playing, and he was always playing rare pieces. You come in the room, he was playing his violin, and most of the time playing a piece that you hadn't heard before, the rare piece, and with so much charm and wit and understanding, and the way he was playing the violin was so expressive, I mean, his playing and his voice and his personality stayed with me many years after I last saw him. Um, and it became more and more powerful. It's funny that I find that you study with someone, and the lessons happen in a moment like that, and you get information about the piece you're playing or something you're doing with the playing. It's quite practical. You sort of take it for granted, unfortunately. And it's much later when you suddenly start to remember their one detail about them and one thing that they were doing, and you realize how to put it in perspective compared to other musicians, and how important that was and what it means. The same, of course, with every single one of my encounters with teachers. There was also somebody that meant a lot for me called Laurent Fenivesh, who was a great Hungarian violinist that studied with Hubai and was the first concert, one of the first concertmaster um, when they created the orchestra, saved by Huberman. Him and his sister were saved by Huberman and created what later became the Israel Philharmonic. And Mr. Fenivesh was a genius, really. I remember when you would play anything for him, and he would accompany you on the violin, remembering all the orchestra parts and everything, or the sonatas by heart. I mean, he's just an unbelievable musician. Hirschhorn was probably one of the first fantastic violinists I ever saw, so close, and his playing was mesmerizing. Like he was electrifying how beautiful his sound and his approach and his feeling for music was. And I mean, I will always remember Miriam. I mean, she's thank you God, she's still alive and performing and everything. But Miriam, the personality is so strong, and on stage. I remember Brahms concerto in Paris that she played. That it was just absolutely unbelievable performance, and the faith she has in music and what she believes in when she's on stage is something that's yeah. Anyway, those are the things. Ysaye, when you're a French violinist, you do grow up with a lot of French music around you, and I guess I studied in the 70s, 80s, started my studies of violin in the 90s, and there was a lot of people that had studied before the war that you met afterwards. So already you get a sense of not tradition is a really stupid word, but a glimpse of atmosphere of certain things that were passed on to generations. But it's amazing with Mr. Gingold, who studied with Ysaye, for whom a lot of this repertoire was written or inspired or something. That I instinctively, I thought it was very important to try to get to know him, and I find there are some details in the pieces that one would have studied with him, like the Franck Sonata, or even when he spoke, sometimes he would take the violin after a lesson on between things and start speaking about another piece that you were performing. And I remember very well something about the Debussy quartet at the detail, because he played it with Ysaye, who premiered the piece, and how he was playing the second violin, and how he said that Debussy had told Ysaye that he wanted the second violin to play one passage in glissando with one finger vibrating between every semitone, and that's something that is far from being in the score, but when you understand, then you get not only a glimpse of that passage, but the whole atmosphere around the movement and the piece, things like that, and his sense of timing and all the different portamentos that Mr. Gingold had. Yeah, that's so the link through him really a lot as influence, and also one's own reading. I find that honestly, reading French poetry and literature in my youth especially helped somehow I inspires me in understanding certain things about the content, let's say, the subversive content, let's say, of some of the works I got to play, like Debussy especially. Yeah. This was there was a sketchbook that was discovered and given to the library in Brussels, of the Royal Conservatory in Brussels, and there was it's the same sort of sketchbook, the same category of books that are in the library of the Juilliard School that you can consult online, which is a lot pertain to the solo sonatas by Ysaye, how he elaborated them. But surprisingly, inside that book was three movements next to each other of another solo sonata almost complete, only with a few, and it was not sketches, it was a first draft. Sketches are very clear, and he has this system, Ysaye, where he goes to more, and then he goes that to connect to the different parts, or Haydn or Beethoven, to connect different sketches like that. But it's not like that. Those are absolute first draft. But then in the corner of one of the pages, you can see that he's comparing the key of his sonatas with those of Bach. And since this sonata is in C major minor, and then he decided, in cross that out, and he wants to finish in E major, like in the third partita. And then he decided to write something completely different, a much shorter piece. But then what I found amazing is how beautiful that work was. And I was surprised that we almost missed it, because this sketchbook stayed in an envelope unopened for like 40, 50 years, and given to a lady that used to work for the Queen Elizabeth and trained actually with Mr. Gingold at some point. And this book was given after Ysaye's death to Philippe Newman, an English violinist that was particularly close to Ysaye and the Queen Elizabeth. You can find a lot of reference to that, lots of letters. I have some letters of Queen Elizabeth to him and so forth. And so we know the trace of this sketchbook, and this sonata is very clearly a first sonata, that was the sixth sonata that was written for Manuel Quiroga. In fact, I recommend, if you don't mind, that people go see this film that I made about it, because it explains a lot. It's called Ysaye's Secret Sonata. You can find it on YouTube. And it has the history about Ysaye, but also about this piece and about Manuel Quiroga, the dedicacy. And I explain more about the origin of this sonata, and it's now published by Schott, and I believe it will come into the repertoire. I mean, the slow movement is definitely a masterpiece and it's a miracle that we have it, but it's very important that we have it, because it's really so beautiful, really. Yeah. Well, I remember that Mr. Gingold, who premiered the third sonata, once made a performance with all his students in unison of the piece, which actually there is a recording of that I heard quite recently, which is marvelous. And the fact that there is a unison gives us a glimpse of how great a composition it is, and also its inspiration from La Mer to Chopin it's just really an incredible piece. And very often when we play violin solo, it's so complex, the music happens so fast, the violin here has to memorize one note and link it to the next something. And so I wanted to try with a friend of mine, when I had a festival in Knock, which was where he wrote those pieces, I wanted to try to work on making the music behind the solo violin, to make it more obvious for the listener. And then I knew that the inspiration behind it was actually from Knock, because Mr. Gingold had told me that it was the memory of exercises that he was giving for people when they were practicing with the son filet and the scales for the bow and so forth, and all in his house practicing in the morning and so forth. And then also that the theme comes from the chanson concert, and in the second movement with the dancers. So I tried with a friend of mine, composer, to make a version at first for 6 violins actually, that we performed for the festival, and then for another occasion in Japan with my friend Nobuko Imai, we went on a little tour where I was playing the 7th sonata by Ysaye, and we were playing the Debussy quartet, and I thought we should have made an arrangement for this string quartet and violin. It's not really string quartet and violin. It's violin. It's 3 violins and viola and cello. Look, it's probably a little musical crime. It's something that I wanted to do. I'm not sure it's yet perfect and how it really works, but I enjoy playing it like that, and I'm so thrilled to be able to express what I see in the music in a different form than just a virtuoso little happening. This is a very deep question, and I'm not sure I can answer it so easily. The most important aspects. I don't know about aspects. I feel that it's a little bit like you go into religion in a sense, because there's, I mean, you cannot take. Mr. Gingold told me that you cannot expect anything. So you cannot expect success. You cannot expect that you're going to play solo or the string quartet or anything like that. You just can only expect that you will participate in music. You will make music. You will, and that will never disappoint you. I mean, I find that that's the thing that I cherish the most in my life. Actually, that's the music itself. That has helped me, and I love discovering new things. I love working on the pieces over and over and looking for other pieces that are forgotten or something like that. So the music itself is for like something that we can cherish, and it will only embrace us and give us more and more. And so life as a musician is really a question of faith towards that, and that's really will never let you down. Now, as an aspect of it, I think it's basically somehow a little bit of discipline, you do have to keep on practicing and to try to get better. And what I found is that it never stays. It's always the new challenges, physically, technically. You learn more. You become more demanding with yourself, more demanding with the music, and you have to also to deal with compromises, with the conductor, with your colleague, and how to collaborate together to make something. It's not exactly what you had in mind at first, and you manage to create something together and still cherish it just as much. So there's some kind of flexibility, and yeah, that's it. Yeah. There are too many.
Okay.
There are too many. I don't know. One comes to mind. It's when I was little, we were living on a farm, and my father was an artist, and we were quite in the south of France, quite removed from any center of music and something like that. And I discovered the violin through the recording of Menuhin. He was speaking about his life. He was in his 50s and speaking about his experience as a musician and what he had discovered something. So, and we had some friends nearby that were also artists from England, and they happened to have known the Menuhin family. And so I wrote a letter to Menuhin. I was a kid, and describing what I felt about his playing, and he wrote back to me. And so I must have been 7 or something like that, and it's just I mean, I've never told him when I met him later many years. He probably was his secretary that helped and said, okay, you should respond to something. It was something. I mean, he's a human being, but it's a huge enterprise in a sense, and he has a lot of social commitments and projects that were political even, and so forth. So it's enormous. But I just was an amazing moment for me in the sense that his playing was so inspiring in so many ways, and then that I was able to meet him. Yeah.